on my last couple of videos, I made some longworth chucks and rider trammel, stuff like that, and I'm really anxious to use them. So what I thought I'd do today is I'm just going to make a bowl for them, and I'm going to make it out of this cedar. I've had some people ask me, and they keep asking, have you ever turned cedar? And several people have asked me that, and I'm like, sure. Actually, cedar was one of the first woods I ever did turn when I first started turning, because it's very plentiful around my area. And a couple of things with cedar, though. Cedar is it's really a brittle wood. It's very brittle, and it dulls your tools. Don't really know why, but it's not that it's really hard. It's just that, I don't know, during the process of cutting it, your tools just seem to get really dull. But anyway, I'm gonna turn this blank. It's about a 10 inch cedar blank, and I'm just gonna try to make a bowl out of it, and then I'm gonna put it on the longworth chuck, and we're gonna find out how those things work, so they can quit looking neat up there, and I can put them to work. So let's get started on this. See what happens. All right. Well, start out by drilling out for my center, so I can get my faceplate centered. Put it up there. I had to break out that piece because it was weak. I don't want it coming off on the lathe. Screw the faceplate down. Fairly centered anyway. Okay, now just get her mounted up on the lathe nice and tight. It is a faceplate turn, so we'll get it nice and tight. Test run, a little shaky but good. Okay, we'll start out just kind of truing up the bottom a little bit, and starting to get started on my tenon. I want my tenon about 1 3/4 inches or 2 inch, right in there somewhere. Have to create a flat spot, then I'll start working on my tenon. Right here. Okay, we're good. Good there. All right. Have this video sped up 4 times, so it's moving pretty quick. The bowl itself is not really the focus of this video. So here I'm just kind of truing up the sides and get rid of some of that wobble. It's balanced out pretty good now. Beginning shaping. And you have to be really careful of cedar, because it has been known to just break and throw pieces all over your shop and into your face. Always when I'm working on the outside of a bowl like this, I'm always wearing my face shield. Just continuing on rough shaping. I need to find my lowest point there for the top of my bowl. Get it marked. And we'll start cutting that off, and that'll add even a little bit more balance to the whole piece. My floor moves I've really got my lathe secured down to the floor, but the floor does move around. The lathe can't come loose from the floor, but it does kind of bounce a little bit every now and then. I don't have concrete to anchor it into. I'm still working on some final shaping here, sort of on the outside. Just trying to figure out what I really want this bowl to look like. I think I like that right there. I'm going to leave that as a foot. Clean it up good. Do some shearing cuts up the side, a paring type cut like a skew, and then I'll come back and shear scrape. Get it nice and smooth. There we go. Alright, now we'll turn it around, mount it on the chuck, and we'll get started hogging out the inside. Spins good. Let's get on it. Alright, just clean the top up a little bit. Take off all that rough stuff first of all before I ever start to hog it out. There again, the video is sped up about 4 times. I just want to go just barely below that bad spot. And I want to keep kind of a chamfer on the top rim of the bowl. So it's a very shallow chamfer. I need to find my depth. So I'll use my little depth gauge here that Roy sent me. Get my depth correct on it, and I'll transfer that to my drill bit right there. And then I'll just push my drill bit through the center until I get to that line, and that's my depth. Start hogging out. This is all just roughing cuts here, just getting rid of as much wood as I can out of the middle of the bowl. I'm going to have to start my undercut here, and then beginning to undercut beneath that chamfer. And I need to keep check on my thickness here. About 3/4 now, so we're going to continue on, but I'm going to use this bent scraper to get on in there. I'm going to start my dust collection up. The scraper works really good for getting that undercut right there. It just it gets in there really well and leaves a nice smooth cut too. This is just a bar that I bent and put a round carbide cutter on the end of it. It really gets in up under there good. Okay, now I'll start cutting down to my depth. I'll just go to the bottom of my drilled out hole. Now I have to start doing some finishing cuts. And I'll just scrape it out with my round nose scraper once I get close. And that'll leave me a nice smooth finish in the bottom and up the walls. Very nice. Thickness looks good, consistent all the way. A little bit more from the bottom, there we go. Alright. Now we can get ready to start our sanding. The cedar is a very soft wood. It sands really easily, so you need to be really careful if you use a power sander or even heavy grits. Make sure use the minimum grit necessary to do what you need to do with cedar. Any detail sandpaper will take right out. Okay, my first coat here was lacquer, and my finish was completely experimental in this project. I used lacquer, brush and lacquer, and I tried that, didn't like it. I got 2 coats on, and I went back to a spray gun. So the finish didn't show a lot of the finish work on this one. I'm masking up now, masking the bowl because I'm going to ebonize the inside, and I'm going to do that with a spray lacquer, a black spray lacquer. I'm also going to do gold leaf, and right here I've already cut out for the gold leaf also, which was a mistake. I actually had to go back and remask. For the gold leaf. So here I am, I'm using just a spray can of black lacquer, and it took about 3 coats to get really good coverage, but it finally blackened out completely. And here I am cutting out for my gold leaf pinstripe. Remove that. And I'm using a metal leaf adhesive spray. So, and I've never used this spray before, and I've always used the brush on sizing, and I'm not so sure I really like the spray very much. It left a texture in the gold leaf. The instructions said to put it on, to put the gold leaf on while the adhesive was wet, and usually the sizing is almost dry. But anyway, I started out, I'm laying on the gold leaf now. The stuff is very delicate and will just almost fall apart with you. So be very careful. Just lay it on and use a very soft brush to stick it down. It'll only stick to the adhesive, so you know, it looks like you're making a big mess until you get it cleaned up. Once you come back and you take off all the excess gold leaf, then it really starts to look good. Just remember, it only sticks to the adhesive. But you can see where it's kind of leaving a texture in there. But I kind of like the texture. I really do actually like the texture. So I'm kind of glad it did. But a really smooth finish would have looked good also, which is what I actually expected to get. Just brushing off all the little excess, all the excess gold leaf, blow it out. I'll mount it back on the lathe for my final coats. I put two more coats of lacquer on here from my spray gun. This is what I've ended up with. Now I'm going to put it in the longworth chuck in an expansion mode because of the chamfer. Makes a really good grip on the inside of the bowl. A little bit better than it would have been on the outside. Tighten down all my wing nuts. Make sure everything's secure. Spin it up. Looks good. Back the tailstock up. Try it again. Looks really good. Alright, now we're just going to start taking off the tenon. I'm taking really light cuts here because I was really worried about the longworth chuck. I've never used one, and you know, first time I was nervous. Anyway, now I start working on the bottom a little bit, kind of clean it up, and shaping it. And just keep shaping on it and getting ready to take that little nub off. I'll start working on it with a skew, and I'm leaving the tailstock up. I could probably do this without the tailstock, but it just adds stability, and I like that, so that's what I'm doing. Alright, now we're just going to start scraping up the bottom, getting it nice and smooth with a round nose scraper. And then I'll come back and sand it up to 320, just like I did the rest of the bowl. But after 220, that's when I'll do my decoration. And I'll just put a couple of decorative marks in here after 220 and just before 320. Make sure you always go back and sand with a grain. I'll come in with my skew and I'll put in 3 little decorative marks here. And finish sanding with 320. Back with a grain. And I'll finish this with lacquer just like I did the rest of the bowl once I get it off the lathe. Alright, I'll just loosen up all the wing nuts, and we'll take this bowl down off the longworth chuck. There we go. Ha ha! Alright. Well, alright. Here we are. The gold leaf accented cedar bowl, candy dish, whatever you want to call it. Really enjoyed this build, this project. It started out, it was just simply, I just had a cedar blank and I just wanted to make some type of bowl form so I could try out my longworth chuck, and I really liked what I ended up with. You know, as I got to shaping, I got to thinking, well, you know, it's kind of like an ogee shape, and then next thing I knew, the little foot down here on the bottom, and you know, chamfer across the top here, and the undercut. I liked all those features. Several mistakes that I made while I was doing this, or a couple of mistakes anyway. For one thing, when I masked off for my gold, for my gold leaf, I cut the circle out of the middle here. So I went ahead and ebonized the inside, and that threw me off time-wise a little bit. Then I had to remask it again to do my gold leaf. Couple things I learned. I don't really like the spray adhesive. I would really very much rather have the brush-on adhesive. That's kind of what I'm used to using, and I really like it. But the spray adhesive, it leaves a texture. You can see everywhere a spray drop touched, which is fine. The texture looks good on here, but I probably won't buy any more spray unless I'm just wanting that texture. So, alright, but that was that. The bottom turned out really nice. Turn it on the longworth chuck. Anyway, I think it did anyway. But I was able to use the bottom. I was able to turn the whole bottom and get it sanded and everything right here on the lathe, because I've got my longworth chuck, and this thing really works great. I don't have any complaints with it. But one thing with the longworth chuck you have to kind of realize is that it doesn't self-center like coal jaws. Okay, you've got a little bit of play in these bolts here, which means they can move ever so slightly one way or the other, and your bowl may not be dead center. So I would suggest bringing up your tailstock, to a center mark, and do it that way. That will help you get this thing dead center. One thing I've done to this thing, one little change I added over my video is I put silicone on the ends of all of these nuts, or on the ends of all the bolts, so that the nuts can't back off. I was sitting here working the chuck on the lathe. Man, that just works great, doesn't it? But I was working the chuck on the lathe, and I noticed that a couple of these had fallen off down in my pile of shavings. Not too fun to look for that. But anyway, there's my longworth chuck. It works great. I'm glad to, and I mean, it goes really good. So I'm glad I got them. I haven't tried my big one yet, but I'm sure it'll work just fine also. It moves just as well as this one does. So all should be good there. Hope y'all enjoyed this project, and I'll see y'all down the road.